Andrew Clennell, first to you. The starting gun's been fired. We're now in for an intense 6-week campaign ahead of voting day. What is that going to look like?
Well, 6.5, in fact. 45 days, you can see it there on your screen, Ash. And what did we do to deserve that? Australians prefer a 4-week campaign to a 6-week campaign, I've got to say. Look, I thought the most interesting thing in Anthony Albanese's speech was him saying, don't close the door on constitutional recognition. Almost a plea from the Prime Minister there, because we know in this referendum, Ash, 49% ain't enough and 3 out of 6 states ain't enough either. So it's a tough ask for the Yes campaign when it's not bipartisan. I guess the Prime Minister's view on that is he made history by winning a majority in the federal parliament with 33% of the primary vote last year, so he can make history again by winning a partisan referendum. I think the fear of failure stalks this referendum, just as the fear of failure stalked this launch with that comment from the Prime Minister, Ash. I will say, though, as bizarre as this sounds, we had some news before the Voice launch which might assist in terms of this referendum, and those were the inflation figures, 4.9% up for the year, the lowest figure since February 2022. We know that this year, as inflation and interest rates have gone up, the support for the Voice in the polls has gone almost in the same direction, down or exponentially down. Now, it also went down after Peter Dutton in April announced the opposition were opposing it, but there's no doubt that with the cost of living so dominant and no end in sight earlier in the year, that people did not turn their mind to the Voice. Now, it's interesting those speeches spoke about uniting the country. Peter Dutton's out there saying it will divide the country. We know one thing for sure, it's dividing the Liberal Party. We've got Malcolm Turnbull and Julie Bishop, the former Prime Minister and Deputy Liberal leader, out campaigning today. We've had Mike Baird, Mark Speakman, Jeremy Rockcliffe, Julian Leeser, Andrew Bragg, Bridget Archer. The moderates are often out of sync with the Conservatives. You can't find many moderates outside the shadow cabinet who oppose this thing. You can't find any Conservatives in the Liberal Party who support it. And Peter Malinauskas, well, he had a powerful line in there too. And that was that if our forefathers can do all these things, such as beginning in South Australia, getting women to vote, world first, the 1967 referendum, why are we going to say no to an advisory committee? I think that was probably the best line in there, this suggestion that this entrenched constitutional change does not create that big a threat. All in all, the PM spoke about generosity and he spoke about optimism, but you'd have to be very optimistic indeed, given the polls, to think that in 45 days this referendum will be successful, Ash.